Ois Gimel. Mamshir b'hamaimer. So I continue the Maimer. So we're continuing. Explain the first two, the first ois in the Hemshech Abasi Legani. So he explains that Hatam al Zeh she'iker Shchina b'tachtonim haiso. Why is it the Iker Shchina was dafke v'hir lamata? Ukitachlis hakavona bibrias v'yishavus ha'olamais. Because the ultimate purpose, why did Hashem want to create? What's the purpose in creation? Why were the world created? Hu shenisave hakodesh baruch hu liyis loy yisbarich dire betachtonim. Is because Hashem wants for himself a dwelling place over here in the lower worlds. So because Hashem wants a dwelling place in the lower worlds, so that's why the main Shekhinah was over here, because ultimately this is the Kavanah. This is why Hashem created the whole world, was to be here Lamato. So the Bible explains the Zeh shenisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyis lo yisbarach dir b'tachtonim. That what does it mean that the Eibishter wants a dir b'tachtonim? Hu sheyiya gilu elokus lamato al yidei avodas ha'odom. That how should the revelation of godliness be in the world through the work of man? It shouldn't be just given to us. The Tachtonim means it's not only, as the Rebbe will explain, a dira in the Tachtonim, but actually that the Tachtonim should make up the dira. The Eibishter wants to dwell over here, Lamato, but he wants that. How should he come Lamato al yidei avodas ha'odom? Specifically, which avodas ha'odom? Al yidei is kafya v'yishavcha. A person works and pushes himself and turns himself around. That's the way you bring down the gilulakus lamata. So that's the Eibishter wants. That's why the Dir b'tachtonim is lamata. So the Rebbe, this explains these 2 points over here. In the 2 points that I just said, one point is that the Eibishter's Gilu should come down below. But the second point is that it should come down through the people below. We should bring it down. It should be through Iskafia v'Yishabcha. Yes, Loimar. We can say the Masha Kosu beHamaimer Shahagilu Elokus Lamato Hu Al Yidei Avodah the Iskafia v'Yishabcha. When the Maimer says that the godliness below comes through the Avodah of Iskafia v'Yishabcha, it's not. He's trying to say Koi Ze Gam Al Nisave Dir B'Tachtonim. This also applies. This was the taiva, the desire of dir b'tachtonim. What the Eibishter wants, taiva, is not just to have a dir b'tachtonim, but he wants that the dir b'tachtonim should come through iskavi. That's part of the taiva, part of the Eibishter's taiva in dir b'tachtonim, that it should come through iskavi v'ishav chainu. The bezeh shenisaved shetia. There are several inyonim. What does the Eibishter want? What is the Eibishter's taiva? What's the Eibishter's desire? But there is 2 parts to it, really. There are several things. First of all, that there should be godliness revealed below Tachtonim. And how should the Gil Elokus below take place? Lo al yidei hamshocha milmailo, not through bringing it down from above. That we should the tachtonim. The Eibishter will give us a gilu milmailo. No, el al yidei avodas ha'odom. That the gilu should come through the work of the person. Avodas ha'tachtonim. That's the work of the tachtonim. V'sha'avodah shal yodo yumshach hagilu lamata. And what is the avodah? So this is Bamis in the third part. One part is should be betachtoinim. The second part is should come through avodah, and specifically, what kind of avodah should be mamshechit? Avodah shal yodo yumshach hagilu lamata. And what's the avodah through which the gilu comes down lamata? Tia avodah the iskafia v'ishapcha should be through the avodah of iskafia v'ishapcha. Avodah shebetzad inyan hatachtoinim. It's a work that comes from the perspective, the idea of the law. We on our own have to work and have to turn around. It comes from us. So that's the extra explanation. This is part of the Eibishter's taiva, is that it should be in the tachtonim and that it should come down through the tachtonim and through his kafya v'izhap. Mamshir b'hamaimer. The Maimer continued that Gilu shenimshach lamato al yidei ha'avodah diskafia v'ishapcha. That the Gilu that comes down through the avodah v'ishkafia v'ishapcha, who Gilu shalamayla mishaychus lo'ilam, as you get a revelation from an oir which is higher than being connected to the worlds. It's a Gilu above. It's not mimali kol almin, but it's soviv kol almin. You get down, you get the oir histalic. That's what you comes down through the skafia and his hapcha. So this is also shalidei va'osu limigdosh hoiso hamshochas iker shchina lemato, and this is that through making a mikdash, they draw down the Iker Shechina, because we say Iker Shechina betachtoinim hoiso, and now we are being mamshich again through our avodah, through Moshe Rabbeinu, through building the mikdash, that we bring down the Iker Shechina lamata. Why? The Iker Shechina hu ha'oir. When we say the main Shechina, we're talking about the light which is higher than connecting. It's the higher level of Moilmes. And by the Migdash brings around the Oir Kehavoida, the Asiyas Hamishkon, He Havoida, the Iskafia Vizhabcha. The Rebbe explains the avodah of building the Mishkan, what it means in the spiritual sense, the avodah of the building of the Mishkan, the Atzishitim, the struggle, and that's basically the avodah of Iskafia Vizhabcha. That means building a Mishkan. Building a Mishkan is the avodah of Iskafia Vizhabcha. Vayivdei avodah zu. And through the avodah of Iskafi Vizhabcha, building a Mishkan, who hamshochas ha'oir shalamayla ma'elames, you bring down an oir that is higher than elames. You bring down the Iker Shechina, the main Shechina. So basically, what the Rebbe explains here in this bracket, he's saying that there was the Iker Shechina was in the world. And Migdash, making a Migdash means Iskafia v'Yishapcha, and through Iskafia v'Yishapcha, we bring down the Iker Shechina, and that's why this is bringing back the Iker Shechina b'tachtoinim ha'isod. We bring down the light, the Oir Hashem, which is higher than us. Ukemaimer. So he brings down the saying of the Zohar, Kadiskafia sitra achro istaleki kore de kuchubrichu b'chulu alm. That when you subdue the other side, then the glory of Hashem in all worlds is elevated. That is the higher level. the Pirush Bekulhu Almin, what does it mean? It's revealed in all worlds. Hu Oir Shu Bekul Almin B'Shava. We're talking about such a light which is equal, which is the same. That's why we say Bekulu Almin B'Shava equally. The difference between the Oir HaMemale, which fits into every part of the world according to it, and the Oir HaSoiviv, which is higher than connecting to the world, it comes down everywhere the same because it doesn't dress up. It's not an Oir Primi. So that's what it says. V'hu ha'oir shalamaylo m'shaychus lo'ilomis. That's the Oir which is higher than being connected to the worlds. By ha'avodah iskafia v'ishapcha nimshach Oir zeh. Through the avodah of iskafia and ishapcha, you bring down that light. So basically, the Eibishter wants a dira b'tachtonim, and he wants the dira b'tachtonim to come through the avodah of the person. When a person works with iskafia and ishapcha, then he brings down the light, the Iker Shechina, you bring down the level of Seviv Kol Almin, which was the light, was the Chatchila in this world. That was the Iker Shechina B'tachtonim. Okay, so this is all the preparation and the first ice. And now that year, the Maimer Tovshin Lamed Beis, the Rebbe was teaching mainly the second Perek of the Maimer Boselagan. Mamshich Dalet. Mamshich ba Maimer bePerek Sheni. HaPerek HaShayach L'shon Hazu. So the Rebbe continues in the second Perek. That is the Perek which is connected to this year, to the year when the Maimer was said in the year of Tovshin Lamed Beis. Sha'avoida shahoisa b'mishkan u'migdosh, that the avoida that was in the Mishkan HaMikdosh, he ha'avoida the iskafia ha'mevia li'ishapcha. It's an avoida of iskafia that brings to ishapcha. Before, the Rebbe talked about generally the building of the Mishkan represents iskafia v'ishapcha. But in this Perek, the Rebbe talks about the avodah that was in the Mishkan and the Mikdash. Over there, it was an avodah of iskafia that brings to his hapcha. That's the avodah. V'lochein, and therefore, achas ha'avodos shahayu b'mikdash. One of the service that was in the Mikdash, the avodas hakarbonis. That's the service of the karbonis. Ke'inyan hakarbonis hu iskafia v'isabcha kedelakamon. Rebbe will explain later on that what is the service of the karbonis. That's iskafia, to subdue and to turn around v'isabcha, and turn yourself around, as the Rebbe will explain. So, because the avodah that brings down the Iker Shechina and the building of the Mishkan and the avodah. Hine hakesher, the inyan zeh. What's the connection that we're saying now that avodas hakorbanos is iskafia v'ishapcha? Sha'avodah shahoisa b'mishkan u'migdash sha'avodah the iskafia v'ishapcha. The avodah that was the mix is iskafia v'ishapcha. How does that connect to what the Maimer is saying in Hamavur b'tchilas ha'amshach, that he says that the Iker Shechina v'tachtonim b'pashtusu? So what's the pashut, the connection? We're explaining now about the avodas hakorbanos, that's iskafia and ishapcha. How does that connect to the beginning of the Maimer? Even sham shochas iker Shechina b'tachtonim hoisa b'iker b'mishkan u'mikdash. Since the bringing down the main Shechina b'tachtonim was in the Mishkan and the Mikdash, from the Mishkan and the Mikdash it went out to the whole world. But where did it start? Where did it go down? Where was the main place that there was the Shechina? The Iker Shechina was the Mishkan and Mikdash. V'amshachas Iker Shechina lemata he al yidei ha'avodah di iskafia v'izhabcha. How do we bring down the main Shechina below? It is through the avodah iskafia v'izhabcha. And therefore, iker ha'avodah shahoisa b'mishkan ha'mikdash he avodah di iskafia v'izhabcha. That's why the main avodah that was in the Mishkan and the Mikdash was the avodah of iskafia v'izhabcha, because that's is where the Hamshachas Iker Shechina takes place. It takes place in the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, the Beis Hamikdash avodah is the avodah in the Mishkan was iskafia v'izhabcha. Elo shebetchilas hamaymer medaber be'inyan hamshachas Iker Shechina lamato. He talks about bringing down the Shechin Lamato b'shachanti b'soicham shalidei asiyas hamishkan. In the beginning, he talks how building the Mishkan brings down the Shechin Lamato v'osu lemikdash. First, we're talking about not the avodah of the mikdash, but we're talking about building the structure of building a Mishkan. And in this chapter, in chapter 2, he adds, that also to draw down in the Mishkan and Mikdash after you built it already. So the building was skafia v'izhabcha, but after the building, the Hamshocha zuhi nailis yoiser meha Hamshocha shoisal yidei hasiyas HaMishkan. This hamshocha that follows after you build that in the Mishkan and Mikdash, after which is a greater than the hamshocha that took place through the making of the Mishkan, is also is through the avodah v'skafia v'izhabcha. So first, the first Maimer talks about that iskafia v'izhabcha, building the Mishkan. To build it, you need iskafia v'izhabcha. Now we're talking about that after you built it, the avodah is through iskafia v'izhabcha, is through the karbonos. V'lochem iker ha'avodah shahoisa b'mishkan ha'mikdash hi avodas ha'karbonos. That's why the main avodah in the Mishkan and Mikdash was the service of the karbonos, which was iskafia v'izhabcha. Through this, we changed around and we brought down the Shechina. So you have the building of the Mishkan, which is iskafia, and then we have the avodas harkarbonis, which is iskafia v'izhabcha. Hey, the Maimer continues. The avodas harkarbonis hi avodah ruchnis shebenefesh. That the service of the karbonis is a spiritual avodah of the soul. Maybe Raya al Zeh me'inyan hishtatfus hakohanim v'alevim b'avedoso. He brings a proof that the service of the karbonis was more than just taking an animal and bringing it. If that was the whole thing, why would we have the participation of the kohanim and the levim in the avodah, v'shiram v'zimram, and the song with they had instruments and they sang with their mouth. Bringing at the time they brought the korban. Shem in Yeruchim, these are spiritual matters. So that shows us that it was more than just bringing a physical matter. It was also a spiritual idea. As explained in many places, the hamshocha shebekorbanos. There was two parts. There was what the karbonos bring down, and it was the elevation that we go up. The hamshocha shebekarbonos hoisa al yidei avodas hakahanim. We have kahanim and levim. The bringing down that karbonos accomplish, that is the service of the kahanim. V'ha'halot that are korbanos, but the elevation of the korbanos, hoisa al yidei hashira v'azimra dehalavim, that was through the song with the instrument in the mouth of the levim. When the levim sang, that brought about the elevation. So you have the Hamshocha and the Halah. That's why we had Kohanim and the Levim. So, Mashakosuv, Odom Kiyakriv Mikem, to demonstrate this idea that it's a spiritual avodah, this also fits with what the pasuk says, Odom Kiyakriv Mikem. If you look in the language, it says a person who will offer from you, basically, instead of saying that a person will sacrifice an animal, the way it's written, it seems like the person is sacrificing himself, because this is a spiritual level, which is actually when you bring a carbon, you sacrifice yourself. It says, even though it would seem that the pasuk should have said, Odom mikem ki yakriv, that a person from you which will bring, not that you will bring yourself, mikem. Shebezeh merames, the pasuk hints to us, korban tzarich liyis, that the carbon needs to be loy rak min habehema kipshuta, not just from, literally, from taking an animal, to bring an animal to the Eibishter. Elogam mikem, you have to bring from you, fun Aich alein, from you yourself, min habehema shebelibe shalodom, from the animal which is in the heart of the person, is adam kiyakriv mikem, you bringing your own animal from the person. Yesh leimar. So the Rebbe said the masha kosu ba'avodas hakarbones. Higam Aveda Ruchnis Benefesh Ha'odom. So he says that the Avedas HaKarbonis, the Maimer comes up here and tells us that this is a spiritual Aveda in the Nefesh of man. So this is after Zesh Avedas HaKarbonis, he Ha'avoda Dis Habcha, Ugam BeKarbonis Kipshuto. L'cha'ere, this that we turn around, we don't have to emphasize, he doesn't have to explain that the carbon is by the person, the nefesh ha'odom. What's the idea of his hapcha? That's not only by the nefesh ha'odom, that's actually by the behema itself, because when you take a behema, which is a regular animal, and you bring it up on the mizbeach, that's his hapcha. You've turned around the behemoth. So to demonstrate is hapcha, why does the Maimer have to say that it's the nefesh ha'odom? Tagam, after zesh avodas hakarbonis, avodah dis hapcha. This that the karbonis is avodas hapcha. Ugam the karbonis kipshutum. This is also literally with karbonis. Well, that's already is havodik shaloichim behema shachayusa miklipas nega. When you take an animal whose life, whose vitality comes from klipas nega, and you turn it into a korban to Hashem, that's the idea of turning darkness to light. So why does the Rebbe bring down over here that it's avodah ruchnis b'nefesh ha'odam? And that has to do because that's the whole theme of the Maimer. This is shayich l'masha kosu b'tchilas ha'Maimer. Because this is connected to what's written in the beginning of the Maimer. The beginning of the Maimer, the Rebbe said, building a Mishkan means b'tzoich kol echad ve'echad, individual. So the Rebbe continues in the avodah of the individual. The Mezem move on. The Kemoy shebe Mishkan u'b'mikdosh hoisa iker hamshocha al yidei avodas hakorbanos. Just like in the Mishkan and Mikdash, the main Hamshocha was through Avodas HaKorbanos physically. Even though the Hamshocha that comes through the building of the Mikdash, it's already a great, just the building of the Beis HaMikdash. That's a tremendous level, but it's not the ultimate. The avodah is a greater level. Shalideva also migdash, when just by making a migdash, that makes up, I should rest amongst you. V'shachanti ani ba'atzmi, that means Hashem Himself. But still, It's even a higher level to bring down the avodah through the karbonis. So al derech zeh. So that's in the Beis Hamikdash. Al derech zeh hu benegei lamikdash shebekol echad miYisrael. Similarly, it's as it relates to the mikdash in every yid. Shegam leachrei ha'avodah devaosu lemikdash. After the service, the person makes a mikdash. Shahadam oises atzmei lemikdash leYisbarach. A person makes himself for a sanctuary for Hashem blessing. That makes up, I will rest amongst you. The further needs to be the avodah yakrim mekem. That will bring down even a higher level than the making himself for a migdosh to have Hashem rest in him, even a higher. The main idea of Shechanti B'Seichel. So the Rebbe says there's two parts in the actual Beis Hamikdash. There is the building of the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan, and then there is the Avodah. The building of the building of the Mishkan is taka a tremendous light. It's bringing down the Iker Shekhinah, but yet that's not the ultimate. Eventually, you got to go to the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, which brings down even a higher light. The same thing is the Avodah of the person. So we said that this Shechanti B'Seichel means B'Seich Kol Echad Ve'echad, means inside each and every one. So therefore, the Shekhinah needs to come down even on a higher level. So the same thing on the spiritual level. You have the building, we build ourselves, make of ourselves a Mikdash, and then after we do the Avodah, and the Avodah brings down Yakrim Mikem to sacrifice, which brings down a higher level, the main V'Shachanti B'Seichel, even greater than building of the Mishkan. Okay, we'll leave it over here. Mamshich tomorrow, Mr. Shem.
Yeah, Shikoya. Have a good day.